Hey everyone! Hope you all are having an amazing day. To make your day even more interesting, we at Intellipaat have brought an interesting video on Azure Key Vault.
So before we move on with our live session, please subscribe to our channel.
And also, if you want upcoming updates, please hit the bell icon and also leave a like if you enjoy our content.
In today's session, we'll be talking about a resource that Azure offers that focuses on security. This is called the Azure Key Vault. So today we'll be discussing about what is Azure Key Vault. So moving on, the agenda for today's video will be, first of all, we'll see what is Azure Key Vault. Then we'll discuss why we should use Azure Key Vault. We'll see the key components in Azure Key Vault. We'll see the scenarios in which Azure Key Vault is used. We'll see how we can create an Azure Key Vault with a hands-on session at the end. And also, we'll see what are the roles in which a person will be working with Azure Key Vault. So let's get started. First of all, what is Azure Key Vault? So in the most simple way, Azure Key Vault enables us or users to securely store and manage sensitive data like keys, passwords, certificates, and other sensitive information. So for example, if you're using Azure to create a resource, it might be a virtual machine, it might be services like anything, web apps. You can use all the resources that Azure provides to do all these things. So when you're making these, there might be situations in which you have to store secure information which everyone should not be able to access. So Azure Key Vault provides a way to store these information. For example, if your app needs to access a database, you need to store usually how developers use. They might need to store the connective information or the configuration in the app itself, where how to connect to the database. So if someone who knows how to access this, someone from outside gets their hands on this connecting information, they might be able to use it to their advantage, which we do not want. So in such scenarios, we can use Azure Key Vault to store these information. So this information can be keys, passwords, certificates, and other sensitive information. So that is what Azure Key Vault is primarily supposed to do. It stores secure information like these keys, passwords, etc. So now what does it do? So we have said it can store, it can securely store information. So what kinds of information can it store? So first of all, secrets management. Azure Key Vault can be used to securely store and tightly control access to tokens, passwords, certificates, API keys, and other secrets. So what is a secret? A secret can be anything that we do not want other people to interfere into. So these things. So for example, if we are creating a virtual machine and we are storing information in the drives, so we don't want other people, third person, interfering in the drives and taking our information. So we might need to encrypt those drives. So when you are encrypting, we might be using some encryption keys. So we need a way to store these encryption keys. So that is a secret. So Azure Key Vault can help in storing that secret. Then there is key management. Azure Key Vault can also be used as a key management solution. Azure Key Vault makes it easy to create and control the encryption keys used to encrypt your data. So we have already said the case of storing these encryption keys, but management is also a supported feature in Azure Key Vault, where Azure Key Vault can help us create these keys and manage these keys, create them or control them. So we can use Azure Key Vault as a key management solution also. Then there is certificate management. Azure Key Vault is also a service that helps you easily enroll, manage, and deploy public and private transport layer security or secure sockets layer certificates for use with Azure and your internal connected resources. That means that Key Vault allows us to enroll, manage, and access all these certificates for our use. Then why should we use Azure Key Vault? So the first reason is centralizing application secrets. So Azure Key Vault helps to store application secrets centrally, so you can regulate how they are distributed. So what happens is everything is stored in a central location. So a person, the administrator, is the one who has access to all these, and he can choose whoever else should be able to access them. So everything is stored at a central location. So it makes it easier to manage these secrets. So that is the advantage of storing these application secrets centrally. Then securely store secrets and keys. Before a caller, that is, a user of a program, may have access to a key vault, they must first be authenticated and authorized. Authentication establishes the caller's identity, whereas authorization establishes the operations that they are permitted to carry out. So what this means is, until and unless the administrator authorizes and authenticates someone to use the key vault, they won't be able to. So authentication and authorization are two different things. Authentication is identification of the user. Unless the administrator identifies this user as a person who can access it, the user won't be able to access the key vault. Then authorization is what they can do. So every user won't be having the same level of control in Azure Key Vault. Some of them will be able to create keys, manage keys, or create whatever, or add secrets, manage secrets. Some of them will be able to have these editing controls, but others will only be like viewers who can just view these keys, or who can just read these keys. So all of this is controlled by the administrator or the vault owner, as we'll see in the next slides. Then there is monitor access and use. So we have complete control over our logs, and we may secure them by limiting access and deleting records that we no longer require. So Azure Key Vault has this integration feature where it can be integrated into the monitoring, or the monitoring services can be integrated with Azure Key Vault, where we can keep a logging. So logs are created for everything that is happening in the Key Vault, and we can secure these logs by limiting access and deleting records. So all these things can be done. Then simplified administration of application secret. Information about security must be kept safe, have a life cycle, and be highly accessible. So this is where so all these things so there are these different ways in which security is achieved, like securely storing stuff is achieved. There are hardware security modules. There are different levels of security achievement which can be done so manually. But here what happens is Key Vault does everything on its own. So the administrator doesn't have to interfere in everything. He just needs to manage all these things. So Key Vault makes storing these secrets very easy. Then there is integration with other Azure services. Key Vault can be integrated with other services like this encryption, SQL databases, app services, etc. So as I've already said, you might need to connect some application with SQL database. So there needs to be some kind of connecting information like username, password, etc. So Key Vault can store these usernames and passwords and give a URL to the application. So the application just no sensitive information is stored in the configuration of the application. Only this URL is stored, and the application will be needing some kind of authentication, and the authenticated app will only be able to access this URL, and from the URL the SQL database. No other person will be able to access it. Now we'll see the key concepts in Azure Key Vault. First of all, what is a vault owner? A vault owner can construct a key vault and have complete access and control over it. Auditing can also be set up by the key vault owner to keep track of who has access to the secrets and keys. The key lifecycle can be managed by the administrator. They can restore the key to a new version, back it up, and perform other relevant operations. So a vault owner is someone who can create a key vault. So that is the administrator of the key vault. He has complete control over it. He can do auditing to keep track of what is happening in the key vault. He can also change the life cycle of the keys. He can restore them. He can back it up. All those things can be done by the vault owner. Then there is the vault consumer. When the vault owner authorizes the consumer access, the consumer can take actions in the assets inside the key vault. The actions available are determined on the permissions provided. So as you already said, every user does not have the same level of control in Key Vault. So the vault owner has to first of all authorize the consumer's access, and it is depending upon that level of authorization that how much we can do in the Key Vault is determined. So a different person will be having different levels of control on the assets inside the Key Vault. Then there is tenant, the organization that owns and administers a specific instance of Microsoft Cloud services referred to as a tenant. So a tenant is the organization that owns the Microsoft Azure account, and all the people inside the organization will be the users in the tenant. So there will be an Azure Active Directory linked to a tenant also. Then there are managed HSM administrator. A managed HSM pool is completely under the control of the users who have been assigned the administrative position. They can establish more role assignments to provide other users regulated access. So HSM administrators are hardware security module administrators. These are people who have the administrator position, and they can assign more roles to the other users. So what happens is Key Vault actually is available in two different tiers, a standard and a premium tier. In the standard tier, how Key Vault secures its information is through software security. It uses software to securely store information. But in the premium tier, it uses hardware security modules to secretly store information. So these are people who have access to this hardware security module. Then managed HSM crypto service encryption user. So these are built-in roles that are typically assigned to users or service principals who use keys in managed HSM to perform cryptographic activities. So as you already said, encryption using keys are done using Key Vault. So users who are using keys in cryptographic activities will be given managed SSM crypto service encryption users. So these are the people who will be doing that. Then there are managed identities. Azure Key Vault allows you to securely store credentials, keys, and secrets, but you must authenticate with Key Vault in order to retrieve them. By providing Azure services with an automatically managed identity in Azure AD, using a managed identity makes fixing this problem easier. So as I've already said, we need to authenticate people to use Azure Key Vault. Managed identity is a way of authenticating people. So managed identity is actually an identity in Azure Active Directory. So this identity will be used as, if I'm having a managed identity, my managed identity will be used as a way of authenticating me into using Key Vault. Now we'll be seeing the scenarios in which we are using Azure Key Vault. One of the most common scenarios that we see in Azure is creating infrastructure. So Azure is actually a cloud service and it provides lots of resources which needs a lot of time to discuss in detail. But we can say it provides hundreds of resources. So what happens is people use these resources to create infrastructure. For example, if you're creating a virtual machine, the created virtual machine will typically contain our information on the disk. So we'll be having some information stored in the disk, and this needs to be encrypted because we don't need a third person interfering or going into the disk and taking this information. So typically this is done by providing an encryption key. We'll be providing encryption keys to encrypt this disk. So these keys can be stored in Azure Key Vault. So that is an example of how we use Key Vault. These keys can be stored in the Key Vault. Also, another example is, we have already discussed this, if you have a web application and you need to connect it to an SQL database, these applications will need to store connectivity information in their configuration like server address, username, and a password. So this type of information is typically called application secrets, and Azure Key Vault can again help us with storing, securing, and management of these secrets. Then we'll see how we can create a Key Vault in Azure. So creating a Key Vault in Azure. First of all, there are two ways in which Azure Key Vault can be created. It can be created either using the Azure command line interface or from the Azure portal itself. So using the command line interface, you have to just use this code. First of all, you have to create a resource and then use the code to create a Key Vault, and it's simple as that. Then using the Azure portal, it's actually step-by-step process. We'll see this in detail during the hands-on session. First of all, you have to create an Azure account. Then you have to go into the portal and search for Key Vault. And from there, you have to click on create Key Vault, and you have to give the necessary details. And finally, you have to your Key Vault will be deployed. Now we'll see what are the roles in which a person will be working with Azure.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides Microsoft Azure certification training in partnership with Microsoft, mentored by industry experts. The course link of which is given in the description below. Now let's continue with the session.
Key Vault. So first one is developer for an Azure application. So if you're a developer for an Azure application, you will need to create Azure application that use keys for signing and encryption. They will also need these keys to be external to the application so that the solution may be used in a geographically spread application. So Key Vault in Azure can store these keys and can safeguard them using industry standard algorithms and hardware security modules. So, and if you're a developer for software as a service, they wouldn't want to be responsible for their customers' tenants' keys and secrets. So you don't want to take responsibility in your tenants' keys and secrets, and you want the consumers to be able to own and manage their own keys so that they can focus on what they do best, offering core software features. So Azure Key Vault, in Azure Key Vault, customers can manage and import their own keys into Azure. When a software as a service application needs to perform cryptographic operations with the help of its client's keys, Key Vault takes care of it. The keys of the customers are not visible to the application. Then if you are a CS or Chief Security Officer, for secure key management, they would want their applications to conform with FIPS 142 level 2 or FIPS 142 level 3 hardware security modules. So you would also want to make sure that the company has control over the key lifecycle and that key usage can be tracked. Also, they want to manage the keys on a single location. All these things are supported by Azure Key Vault. They can select roles for all the security levels. They can select managed hardware security module pools, and also none except you will be able to see or extract your keys, and the use of keys can be tracked in real time regardless of how many vaults you have on Azure, which regions they support, or what applications use them. The Vault always provides a single interface. Now we'll have a hands-on session on how to create a Key Vault in Azure. Okay, so in the hands-on session, we'll be seeing the two ways in which we can create a key vault in Azure. As you already said, there are two ways. First of all, we can use Azure CLI, that is a command line interface to create an Azure key vault, and then we can use the Azure portal to create the key vault. So for using the CLI, assuming that we have the Azure CLI already installed, we have to open PowerShell. Yeah, okay, so PowerShell has been opened. So if you go, you can follow other Intellipaat guides are available for installing Azure CLI. So if you don't have installed it, please follow that. Otherwise, if you have installed it, just to make sure that I've installed it, I'm using this command. So if you see, it is showing that I've installed Azure CLI 2.26.1. So we are good to go. We have Azure CLI. Also, if you don't have Azure, if you don't want to use Azure CLI in your terminal, you can use it on the web. Azure CLI is available as on the web through your browser, or also you can use it from the phone, from wherever you're using it. Whatever I'm going to do, it's the same on all those. So first of all, you have to log into the Azure portal. So I'm using this command AZ login. So if I click on that, it'll open the browser for me and ask me to give the credential for the Azure account. So I'm going to sign in. So I've logged into the Azure account, and it'll redirect me to the documentation for Azure CLI. So we don't now have to do that. So if I go back to the CLI, you can see that I have logged in, and it is giving me some information regarding my login. So yeah. So now we have to create a key vault. So first of all, what we have to do is we have to create a resource group, and only in that resource group will we be able to create a key vault. So for creating a resource group, we need to use the command, the first command, AZ group create name. We have to give a name for the resource group here and the location at which this resource group is to be created. So this command is to be used to create a resource group, but I already have a resource group in my portal, so I'm going to use the command directly to create the key vault. But if you don't have a resource group, first of all, you have to use this command to create a resource group, and from there only you can create a key vault in the resource group. But since I already have a resource group, I'm going to use the second command to create the key vault. So what we have to do is we have to use the command AZ key vault create. So this is to create the key vault. Then in the name, we have to give a unique name for the key vault. So I'm just going to give name. I'm using this for the demo, so I'm just going to key vault demo. And in the resource group, I have to give the name of the resource group. So if you're creating a new resource group, you have to give the name of the resource group that you have just created. But I'm using the resource group that I have already made in my portal, so I'm going to use that. And the location that I had was Central US. So I'll be using this command to create key vault in the resource group. So if I go and paste this command and click on enter, now it is trying to create the key vault in my resource group. Might take some time since it has to deploy the key vault on a global scale. So okay, so what happened here is the key vault name is already in use, so I need to change the name. So I am going to change the name. So this is important because the key vault name should be unique. The reason this should be unique is because this is going to come in the URL which you are going to provide for apps that are using this RESTful APIs and all. So this URL is going to be used by this app, so it has to be unique. So it's good that the keyword name already existed. So I'm going to give a different name now. Let's hope this exists. So I'm going to copy this now and paste. Okay, let's hope that the new keyword will be created. It might take some time, as I've already said. Okay, it seems that it is happening. So we can see the running is being indicated there. It means that they are deploying the key vault. Okay, so we've got some information in the form of a JSON. So it means that the key vault has been created. So this is how you create a key vault using CLI. It's pretty simple. You need to use only a single command if you are just creating a key vault. So this is how we created using CLI. Now, to see if the key vault that you created using CLI is actually there, we have to go to the portal. So I'm going to the Azure portal, portal.azure.com. So if I go in there, I have to log in first. No, I've already logged it, so it's okay. So if I go in and so I had, if you look at the code that I gave earlier, I had created the resource group in Rahul RESC GRP1. So if I go to the portal and check the resource group, I can see the keyword that I created is here. It is active. So we can make sure that the keyword that we created has been deployed. So that is how you use Azure CLI to create a keyword. Now, if you have to do the same using the portal, first of all, you have to go to the portal and then you have to search for keyword. So you can see the keywords here. If you go into the keyword, it'll show the keyword that you have already created if there is any. Otherwise, if you want to create a new one, just click on create. So in create keyword, so first of all, this screen will come up. Here we have to provide the subscription type, whichever subscription that you're using, you have to provide that. Then you have to give the resource group in which we are creating the keyword. If you already have a resource group, you can give the name of the resource group, or else you have to create a new resource group. Then we have to give the keyword name. As we've already mentioned, the keyword name should be a unique one. It shouldn't have been used before, because as we already said, this is a global thing. The keyword names are used globally. All this it is to be used in URL, so it should be unique. Then we can choose the region, the pricing tier that we want. As you already mentioned, keyword supports two types of pricing: standard and a premium. In the standard, there'll be only software-based security, but in premium, it includes hardware security modules as well. Then we can do all these things. Soft delete is actually a feature where even if you are deleting the keyword, it won't completely go. It will stay there. So in case if you want to access it again. So here we can give the access policy. We can provide network connectivity options. And finally, we can go to review all the settings and click on create. And after you're clicking on create, it will just create a keyword as we already seen how we used CLI to create a keyword. So it will create a keyword in the resource group that you have mentioned. So if you want to see the keyword that you've created, you can go to the resource group and click on the keyword, and here it will load the keyword. So here we can see in the overview the name of the keyword, name of the resource group in which the keyword was created, and the vault URL. This is the URL which we will be providing. This is an important thing. We have to make sure we know the URL, because this is the URL that we will be providing the apps, if there is any, to access the keyword. If a certain app needs to access certain asset in the keyword, this is the URL that we need to provide. Now that is how your keyword looks in general. Now to see how you can add certain things. So if you want to add a key, you can add keys from here. So in the left hand menu, there are options that how different things can be added. If you go to the keys, you can generate, as we already said, keyword provides a way to generate and manage keys. So you can generate a new key, or you can import keys. So if you have keys lying around, you can import them, or you can generate new keys. That's like the same for secrets as well. We already set application secrets in the form of connectivity information which an app needs to connect to a certain database. So these secrets can be generated, or these secrets can be imported to the keyword. It's the same for certificates as well. We can apply for certificate, we can generate certificate, we can create certificate, we can import certificate. All those things can be done from here. Then there comes the logging feature. We have already said that keyword can be integrated with other services, as well as Azure Monitoring is also available in keyword. Here we can go for the logging feature, where logs can be kept for all what is happening, everything that is happening in the keyword. So here, if you see, nothing has been done in the keyword, nothing has been added, so it'll definitely say no data found. But if it's a working keyword, you can see that logging will be available, logging metrics, all those things will be available. So if you go to metrics, you can see, or you can select the metric that we want, and overall vault activity. If I select the metric, since this is a newly created keyword, it will just show 100%, but you get the idea. You can do everything, whatever you want to do with this. So that ends the hands-on session on how to create a keyword.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides Microsoft Azure certification training in partnership with Microsoft, mentored by industry experts. The course link of which is given in the description below.
So guys, we have come to the end of our session. I hope you all enjoyed it. For any questions that you have related to coding, you can mention it in the comment sections below.
So thank you so much for attending this session, and meet you in another session.